Okay, today I just wanted to leave time. I know there are so many avenues and angles to burnout, and I chose to target play this week because I think that's a place that we can really feel good about making changes, right? Like to me, it feels energizing. And I know that there are some things that we talk about in my membership or when I'm coaching that other things feel heavier. But I think when we look through the angle of play or ways like micro changes and reframes instead of these big changes, it can feel so much better. If anyone has any thoughts, I know there was some conversation in the group about core values. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. And I don't want to put anyone on the spot or have you feel pressured. If you have had a chance to watch any of the videos, you can either drop in the chat or let me know if you have any things that you thought throughout the week. Does it feel a little bit easier to think about self-care through this lens? Melinda said yes. Elizabeth, did you unmute on purpose? Because you're welcome to unmute and just chat. I'm trying to be better about not tolerating, like being patient. And it's so funny because as a clinician, I was the best at wait time. I could wait out a kid if they needed more time. But for some reason in a Zoom call, I'm like, I'm just going to keep talking. So I'm going to pause.
Good
Yes.
morning.
Good
It's
morning.
it's Melinda.
Hi.
Hi. Um, I figured I might as well unmute and
I love
instead
it.
of trying to type like a mad woman, I just wanted to say that self-care has just been a bit of a challenge for me. It has felt in the past very much like another box to tick
Hmm.
instead of this is going to be so good for me. I can't wait to do this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the play. It makes it feel a lot less like work and a lot more like I'm actually doing something that's smart for myself versus something that's work for myself.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that lens. I also really appreciated the core values because I know that as a recovering people pleaser, and people pleasers typically have the weak boundaries and core values, I think go hand in hand. And I think that's one of my problems is I've never really been able to articulate what my core values are. And without that, it's been very easy for people to railroad me. So I'm really excited about having the beautiful chart that you put together. Oh my goodness. I'm
Oh,
really excited
good.
about spending some time with that and really just taking my time to work through it and really get more comfortable with what is so important to me and what is not, and what boundaries are can be a little more flexible and which ones can't. So I thank you for that.
Yes. You're
It's
welcome.
the way you laid it out is just really, I'm such a visual person, and the way that you've laid it out is just gorgeous. Same with the calendar, the agendas, the digital agenda.
Oh,
Oh my
yes.
goodness. Absolutely thrilled to bits because it's one of the reasons I go back and forth between the paper and the digital and the paper and the
Hmm.
digital. And I think that, as you said, this one kind of ticks all the boxes. So I was like, ooh, I am so happy. It's got the stickers and the fun handwriting and you can
Yes.
change the way it looks and all the things that I love about a good planner. It's all into digital. So yeah, I've
Oh,
gotten a
I'm
lot out
so
of,
glad.
yes, a lot out of the fact that I missed all the calls live, but I got a lot out of it even though I wasn't able to attend. So I'm so happy that I can tell you that live. Yay. Thank you.
Yes. So I appreciate you sharing that. And for those of you who maybe didn't see that in the chat, and this has nothing to do with play, but it truly kind of does, though, I will say,
Hmm.
because I think the reason that I stick to my planner and my calendar is because it's so pretty. And I can show you, I'll share my screen so I can show you what it looks like. But it's called Artful Agenda. I'm telling you this because I genuinely love it. My husband and my
Hmm.
daughter both have them. And I don't know if you do any shared calendars, but like, you can do a shared calendar So my daughter can add something to hers and have it so it goes to mine. And I think that's so wonderful. We do have a family rule though that even if you add something to my calendar, we still have to talk about it. You can't just add things to my calendar. That's a good rule to have with the teen.
I like that.
But this is what
Oh, it's
it
so
looks
beautiful.
like. I know. And you can do like these are our calendars. So this one is for all of us. There's so many things on here. Just like some of them I don't even have showing up. If it's not colored here, it doesn't show up. But then we have the Haley and Mom one, and it's just so nice. And the thing that I love about it is that you can change the cover. I had this habit of going out and buying a new planner when I was in grad school and like just writing everything in so that I could, I don't know, start over. But this way I don't have to do that because you can just change the cover and change your colors. And I actually don't do that as much. Like I've had it on that really pretty one that looks like the bottom of a pool for probably a year and a half because I love it. So I'm so glad that that came to you through here, Melinda, because I think just some of those things that make us feel good, I think having that does help me stay organized and stay on track. But then also, it makes me happy that when I talked about the color analysis, like that's one of my favorite things. Like it just makes little things that you have to do during the day more fun. And I don't know if that's technically play, but I think there's some overlap there of just ways that we care for ourselves that feel good. And nobody taught us to do that. Well, maybe they did, but I wasn't listening. The people pleasing was too loud. So I appreciate you sharing that. The core values, let me show you guys the core values spreadsheet that Melinda's talking about. I shared a link to my podcast that Amy and I have, and it's in the show notes that you can grab the spreadsheet. I can go to my Google Drive and then I'll share my screen. But if anybody wants to grab that, it's free. I can grab the link to it and share it here. Melinda, did you get a chance to listen to that episode of the podcast? You probably listened to a lot of my voice this week if you did.
I didn't actually. I just followed the trail that you left. I was reading
Okay.
and I followed the trail to get it. And I'm like, put that in my drive. I'm going to really use that later.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And I was very sad to hear you say you don't like spreadsheets. I love a good spreadsheet. It makes me so happy
Now,
because it's
see,
so organized.
I love to make one. And I
You don't
actually
like
am
using
working
them?
on using them.
Okay.
I'm working on it. Yes, Barbara, I will put the link in here for you. That way you don't have to chase the breadcrumbs. Make sure this is the right one and that it's shareable. But I'll share my screen and show it to you also. So the thing that I love about this, because, well, choosing your core values can feel overwhelming because you're not really choosing them, right? We all have things that are important and meaningful to us. And then there's so many other voices that tell us what is important to us or what should be important to us. When I learned that values misalignment was a huge factor in burnout, I was like, okay, I feel a misalignment, but I don't know what I value. So, how do I fix the problem? And that's really what caused me to do a deep dive into core values. The other thing that I recommend to people, if this is something you're wanting to learn about, is this book. Notice it's right here because I keep it very close. Real Self-Care by Pooja Lakshman, and she is phenomenal. I've probably read it 10 times. Like it is just so good. But I didn't have words for my values. I didn't know what they were. And so it was really hard for me. I want to solve a problem, but I didn't have the name. And so also, it's sometimes easier to figure out your values if you think of the things that really trigger you. So that's why this first column is more like if this is bothering you, then this might be something you value. And that was so helpful to me because I could tell you the things in my workplace that were not feeling great. I could tell you the things that I didn't love about my jobs or how I felt, but I couldn't really pin it to a value. So, and the great thing about this is you can just go through and when you check these, see, Melinda, I can make a great spreadsheet because then when you go to this next tab, they're all here, the ones that you've checked, and then you can go through and see how they feel. But yeah, what I found for me is that it took some time to shed those things that were not mine. I think grad school and our programs do this to us, but sometimes we lose that clarity of what is important to us. And so that's why I think this work is so important and so transformational. And it sometimes seems underwhelming because you're like, just think about the things that are important to you. But also, it can feel overwhelming because you're like, I don't know. For me, it's been transformational. So I hope that's helpful. And I'm so glad that you were able to grab that and that it feels like it will be helpful. So you'll have to let me know what you think of it
I
as you
will
go through it.
absolutely. I love that how you said if it's something that's triggering you, that's probably rubbing up against something that is really important to you. And I did experience burnout in my last position. It was
Mhm.
pretty awful. I am a music therapist
Okay.
and I love my job. I love my job, but I almost broke up. Me and music almost broke up, which was a very defining moment for me, where I realized that it wasn't the music that I was having trouble with, it was my position I was having trouble with.
Yeah.
And I got very fortunate, and the person that was in the position of the pediatric music therapist went off to do something else, and I came down to peds, and I'm like, oh, yay, I love my job again. I love music again. I love everything about what I get to do every single day. So I think you just gave me a perfect place to start, which is why did I burn out so badly working in
Yeah.
long term care? What was it about being there that made me burn out? And it's a great place to start because I really feel, like you said, it can be super underwhelming, or for me, it's just super overwhelming. I'm like, I don't know. So I
Yeah.
do very much appreciate just even hearing you say that triggers. And I'm like, oh, good. There's a good place to start. Let's figure out why I got so burnt out. What worked for you? Yeah.
Absolutely. I really do think that question is so helpful. Like, just what's either triggering you or where are you feeling resentment? I had never really thought about what I was resenting, but I think there's also so many layers to burnout that we are just doing things because we are trying to either keep the peace or it's nothing triggers me more than like this is just the way it's always been done. So this is how we're going to keep doing it. Literally nothing. That to me, I can do that for a little while. And then I have found over time, if I'm in a place where that is the mindset, that fixed mindset of we're just going to keep doing it this way, it it eats away at me. And so that was a huge factor in my burnout. I'm going to put in the chat, there are 6 evidence-based causes of burnout, and you might find it helpful to look at the misalignments in those areas. And one of them is values misalignment. So that's where I looked at all of the places that I had worked. My burnout story is I had 6 jobs in 7 years and I didn't even realize it. But I kept going to the next job thinking that I could fix it. But I was finding, like, oh, I'm not getting paid enough, or I don't feel well respected. I was looking at one thing at a time. And what I found once I started looking at the research is that there are these 6 areas. And for me, the pattern was always values misalignment. But like I said, I didn't know what my values were. So I was like, that's probably where I need to start. So these are the areas that I would recommend looking at. And this is Christina Maslach is a person who does a lot of research on burnout. She is the person who founded the burnout scale. I always call her the grandmother of burnout research. For me, I always thought it was workload or some towards the middle of my repetition in the burnout cycle, it became like feeling like I wasn't being paid enough. When it comes down to it, those areas, the more of those that are coming up, the more risk of burnout you'll feel. So those are the areas that I like to share. Helen, will you tell us about this Jessica Buds? I love a resource. If you can. If you can't unmute, that's okay.
Yeah, she used to be more active on social media and she's gone quiet. And you used to have to pay for her classes, but 5 of them are available free. She gave that to the community. There are lots of really helpful PDFs. Her kind of tagline was live unapologetically. And one of the classes is all about finding your core values. She has lots of resources to print out, and you kind of spread all the values out and do different layers of sifting through and taking things away or adding things. It's a great process that she has.
Amazing. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that. That's very
welcome.
helpful. There's a website. Gosh, I'll have to get it and share it in the community. But I always say that it's like Tinder or a dating app for values. Like you swipe left or right and you like swipe the ones you don't like and they compare the two. But I love to share that as well because that is kind of a nice way to do it. I have found that different people have different ways that really work for them. So you could even think about your play personality or the things that you learned about yourself this week, and then how can you use that to help you learn your core values? Could you make it a game, or could you, you know, maybe get a list while you're out on a walk, something like that. I'm going to drop in the chat 2 links. One is just for some feedback, if anyone has any feedback for the week. And then another is this dream I have of turning my one-on-one burnout audits into a group cohort. So I'm going to put both of the links in the chat. There's no pressure to complete either of them. This week, I realized the benefit of pairing some of this with these AI resources. And I think that it's something that I do really well. We do inside of the membership. I think that has been really fun for me to teach. And so I'm going to put these 2 links and I would love you to check them out. But most importantly, I would love any feedback anyone has on Play Week, what was helpful, what would have been better. I really appreciate everybody's engagement this week, and calls will be available inside of the community until Sunday the 19th. So if you need to catch up, you totally can. And I think I will leave the school group open to be a place if people are realigning or listening to the podcast or want to talk about things, we can stay in there and stay connected. So if that's something that you would like to do, I would love it if you hang out there. But yeah, I really appreciate all of you. And this has been such a fun week for me, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Bye.